The 2022 NFL Draft is one day away, and what better way to prepare you than a mock draft? We went to our team experts and hosts to prepare you for draft night by allowing them to make picks for their teams. Tune in as we go through all 32 first-round picks, and we hope you enjoy this coverage, but also make sure you subscribe to the channel as well as our social channels at Bleav Network for our live coverage that will be going on during the NFL Draft.
With the first pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars are selecting defensive end AIDAN Hutchinson. Hutchinson is a 6'6", 265-pound beast from Michigan. He had 14 sacks. He crushed the combine and has shown over his career why he can be a destructive force, not only in college, but the NFL.
Hello, and with the second overall pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Detroit Lions will be selecting Oregon edge rusher KAYVON THIBODEAUX. Don't overthink it. We did it with Joey Bosa when there were the rumors he was going to fall because he was too boring. We did it with Nick Bosa when we talked about Quinnen Williams going ahead of him. We did it with Justin Herbert out of Oregon. He was not a leader. He was too quiet. Look at him now. We did it with Penei Sewell, where he was lazy and didn't have the work ethic. I don't know what it is, but star edge rushers and Oregon players just get shafted in the draft process. KAYVON THIBODEAUX is just as special, if not even more special, than Sewell and Justin Herbert. And when you think about it, he beat AIDAN Hutchinson in the 40. He beat him in the 10-yard split. He beat him in the broad jump. Thibodeaux is just a more explosive athlete than Hutchinson. Only reason he loses out in the RAS, relative athletic score, is that elite agility and the fact that Hutchinson is massive. KAYVON THIBODEAUX is the most overthought prospect in years, and the Detroit Lions will be lucky to have him.
With the third pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Houston Texans will be selecting GARDNER, the cornerback out of Cincinnati. I'm really excited to bring the sauce to Houston because I strongly believe that Nick Caserio and Lovie Smith, they are defensive-minded people, and they want to get a defensive cornerstone. And GARDNER can be that Stephon Gilmore, that J.C. Jackson, that Caserio has had success with in the past. He can be your lockdown cornerback one because of his physical and athletic traits. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's 6'2", 190, ran a 4.4, 140-yard dash. He has the 33.5-inch arms. He has everything you want from that sort of build, that sort of athleticism. And he's also got the production, never allowing a touchdown in his collegiate career, having 9 interceptions through his 3 years in college at Cincinnati. He's really done it all, and I think he's the full package at cornerback, so I'm really happy with that pick for the Texans.
With the fourth pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the New York Jets are going to select offensive tackle North Carolina State EKWONU. It's a perfect situation because they don't want a defensive back, at least in the first round. At least they've said as much, at least to this point. So they can go best player in the draft. So they're going to have to choose between Travon Walker and EKWONU right here or Evan Neal. They can get the need pick at 10. That's a great spot for wide receiver. They can get a Garrett Wilson. Drake London's probably going to follow there. They can hope for a pass rusher, which they need. They're going to have to think hard if Travon Walker is really here. But they might be able to get Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State there. So that 10th is going to be kind of a catch-all to get whatever they want. Here, they can go really young and really good on the offensive line. Now, Evan Neal would be a little more versatile for him, but EKWONU kind of fits the offensive tackle mode. They did address offensive line through free agency. But the fourth pick, if you're going to give me the best pure offensive tackle in the draft, if you're the Jets, protect your franchise quarterback, Zach Wilson, I'm going with the offensive tackle, EKWONU.
With the fifth pick in the draft, in the Bleav Mock Draft, the New York Football Giants select offensive lineman Evan Neal out of the University of Alabama. It's been well chronicled that the Giants have had all kinds of issues on their offensive line, and Evan Neal fits the bill for the Giants. Obviously, he's got a lot of athleticism, and he's a player that's going to just continue to get better. And then if you look at the pedigree, concerning Evan Neal? Well, he comes from Nick Saban, and so many of those guys are pro-ready players. And if you think of head coach Brian Dable and his association with that program and that way of coaching, that makes Evan Neal a perfect fit for the New York Giants. With the 5th pick in the draft, in the Bleav Mock Draft, the New York Football Giants select offensive lineman Evan Neal out of the University of Alabama. It's been well chronicled that the Giants have had all kinds of issues on their offensive line, and Evan Neal fits the bill for the Giants. Obviously, he's got a lot of athleticism, and he's a player that's going to just continue to get better. And then if you look at the pedigree concerning Evan Neal, well, he comes from Nick Saban, and so many of those guys are pro-ready players. And if you think of head coach Brian Dable and his association with that program and that way of coaching, that makes Evan Neal a perfect fit for the New York Giants.
With the 6th overall pick in the Bleav 2022 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select quarterback Malik Willis from Liberty University, primarily because the Carolina Panthers do not have a quarterback and definitely need one. 2 of the top 3 left tackles have already been taken off the board. Me and Skylar Callahan basically decided if Evan Neal wasn't still there at 6, that Malik Willis would be our guy. And lo and behold, he's still sitting there. So Malik Willis, welcome to Charlotte.
With the 7th pick in the Bleav Mock Draft for the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Football Giants go secondary, and they go with Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU. When you look at the new defensive coordinator, Don Wink Martindale, there is a premium at the cornerback position. You've got to have corners to play his defense. There's a lot of cover zero, which means that the cornerbacks are isolated. And the Giants are going to look to add depth to that position and bring in a frontline player. So I say that the Giants, with the 7th overall pick in the draft, go with Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU.
With the number 8 pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Atlanta Falcons are taking defensive end Travon Walker out of the University of Georgia. Go Dogs. The Falcons, they finished with 18 sacks in 17 games last season. I don't really even know how a team does that, but they did it. And they're not going to do it anymore because they're going to get, I think, a player who could develop into an elite edge rusher at the NFL level. Yeah, his sack production wasn't there at Georgia, but if you watch Georgia play, not only did they have amazing athletes all over the field, and offenses really couldn't do much of anything against them, so opportunities for sacks may not have been there, but they rotated everybody on and off. I'm pretty sure Travon Walker, once he gets into an NFL facility, has NFL coaching, he's going to be really, really good. And the Falcons have needed somebody like this, an elite athlete, a scary, game-changing type of defensive player on their defensive line, somebody to pair with Grady Jarrett. They're going to get that in Travon Walker. So, between him and Kyle Pitts, I like the freakish nature that the Falcons are starting to build through the draft. Let's hope Travon Walker's rookie season is as good as Kyle Pitts, but that is the pick at number 8 for the Atlanta Falcons.
With the 9th pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Seattle Seahawks will be selecting Kyle Hamilton, safety from Notre Dame. Now, I know what you're thinking, that this is a pick that doesn't really make sense, but let's think back to the last time that the Seahawks have made a draft selection in the first round that has made a whole lot of sense. Kyle Hamilton slid a lot further than I think people might expect will actually happen on draft night in this mock draft. And here he is sitting at 9 for a team that has always been extremely defensive focused. Kyle Hamilton is a perfect chess piece for a team that uses Jamal Adams in a very creative way. Now just imagine the ability to have a different style safety that can cover sideline to sideline with Kyle Hamilton playing alongside Jamal Adams. Give me Hamilton for the Seattle Seahawks.
With the 10th pick, the New York Jets select Jermaine Johnson, defensive end out of Florida State. Like Jermaine Johnson, I think he does a great job of setting the edge. When you talk about a guy, when you talk about being in the AFC East, having to face the mobile quarterbacks, of course, with Allen, Tua, you want a guy that can kind of string plays out. Watching his film, I've never seen him get driven off of the ball. He does a great job of using his hands, creating separation. And I think that he has a great upside. I'd like to see more pass rush moves out of him, which I think he will develop. But I think for the 10th overall pick, taking Jermaine Johnson at the defensive end spot really solidifies the Jets defense.
With the 11th overall pick in the 2022 Bleav Mock Draft, the Washington Commanders select wide receiver Chris Olave from Ohio State. And with Kyle Hamilton off the board at 10, obviously that would have been a home run scenario for Washington. But looking into the tea leaves with Chris Olave and his relationship that he's developed with the Washington staff and Ron Rivera being in Columbus at their pro day, their need for wide receiver, they need eyes off of Terry McLaurin. They brought in Curtis Samuel last year to kind of be that wide receiver too and that chess piece, but they need somebody on the opposite side, an elite route runner, the most fluid route runner in this class, sure hands, ability to create at every single level. Carson Wentz is in the building now. He's going to be able to sling it around a little bit in Scott Turner's offense. So Chris Olave is the pick here at 11th overall for the Washington Commanders.
With the 12th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Garrett Wilson, wide receiver from Ohio State University. The way the board shook out, this one was too irresistible for me not to select them. The way the board indeed looks, it would probably likely be a trade out of this position, but I'm not sure that was allowed. So the Vikings will get richer at wide receiver, not because they need to, but because the man is arguably the best player available there at 12. And the Vikings have an aging wide receiver in Adam Thielen, who everybody loves, but he's going to be 32 years old this summer. So in order to plan for life after Thielen, the Vikings select Garrett Wilson, and it's just an embarrassment of riches on offense.
With the 13th pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Houston Texans will be selecting George Karlaftis, the edge rusher out of Purdue. With the third pick, we already went Sauce Gardner, and I really wanted to leave the first round with one of the top 5 edge rushers in this class, and George Karlaftis offers exactly that. There's something about Karlaftis that kind of reminds me of J.J. Watt in terms of him being slightly overlooked by the consensus in comparison to the rest of this edge class. And I'm hoping that we can get a little bit lucky selecting a franchise edge outside of the top 10 yet again. I truly believe that Karlaftis, adding him would give us a premium position, give Lovie Smith the pass rusher that he desires to make his scheme work. And I think also with him being one of the youngest prospects in this class, there's a lot of untapped potential for him to reach. So let's go Karlaftis at 13.
With the 14th pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Trent McDuffie, cornerback, Washington. For the Ravens, they could go offensive line here. They could go at on the edge, but cornerback is a position of need. Even though they have Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey on paper, these guys are both coming off major injuries. They've lost Anthony Averett to free agency. They released Tavon Young. There is virtually no depth behind Humphrey and Peters, and there's question about their health to begin with. And oh, by the way, they're in a division now with the reigning champions, Joe Burrow, and the Cincinnati Bengals embarrassed the Ravens twice last year. Burrow threw for about 900 yards against them in the 2 games. They have to have good cornerback play to win in the AFC North. They didn't have enough of it last year. McDuffie makes perfect sense here.
With the 15th selection in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Drake London, wide receiver out of the University of Southern California. The Eagles have been in a desperate need for wide receivers the last couple of years. In fact, they have drafted 2 wide receivers back-to-back in Jalen Reagor in the 2020 cycle and last year with Devonta Smith in the 2021 cycle. They hit on Devonta Smith this last year, but they're still in desperate need for more wide receiver help. Quez Watkins is a solid number 3. Jalen Reagor has not worked out in their system, so we need to get a big body, athletic receiver who brings some yak ability, and that's exactly what Drake London brings. In a lot of ways, reminds me of a Brandon Marshall that used to be a dynamic player for the Chicago Bears, Miami Dolphins, and Denver Broncos. He brings that physicality, playmaking ability above the rim, and the yak ability that I think that is in desperate need in Philadelphia to pair with the smooth route running of a guy like a Devonta Smith.
With the 16th pick in the NFL Bleav Mock Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Jameson Williams, wide receiver, Alabama. Look, I think it's a good pick. The Saints have to find a way to get more weapons on the outside. Mike Thomas has been out for the last couple of seasons. We've seen the lack of production for the Saints at a big position of need, that being wide receiver. Jameis Winston did not have a lot of targets to go to last year. It makes a lot of sense for the Saints to get the best wide receiver that's on the board right now, that being Jameson Williams. Very fast, very explosive. The Saints need somebody that can take the top off of these defenses when you have Mike Thomas on the other side, who's more of a possession type of wide receiver. So I really like Jameson Williams, and I think the Saints get a really good pick here at 16.
With the 17th overall pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Charles Cross, Mississippi State. So with Charles Cross, I mean, this guy's been highly touted his entire young career. 5-star guy, Mississippi State, number 1 overall prospect in the state of Mississippi. You see this guy topping out at almost 6'5", weight about 310. And what he is if he falls to the Chargers at 17, I mean, it's a total steal at the draft here. He's probably the best pass blocker of the draft. The question marks come in the run game a little bit, as he's only had 22 starts in college. His scheme in Mississippi State wasn't heavy run based. But I mean, when you look at Charles Cross, I mean, he glides in his pass sets. He plays with tremendous weight distribution. It's not only the blocking in the first level, but it's the second and third level blocking, especially in the run game, that makes him such an elite prospect. There was arguments for penning with the Chargers at 17. But if he falls to the Chargers at number 17, Tom Telesco and company, it's going to be an easy, quick pick. The slip will be in seconds. Charles Cross is the man. Again, he alerts on stunts to pass off penetrators. He picks up loopers, and he would be an immediate starter opposite of Rashawn Slater. Now, the last thing with him is he played left tackle at Mississippi State, but it would be less of a big role for him. He can just slide right to right tackle, ease off the burden, not have to worry about the blind side, and play opposite of Rashawn Slater. Charles Cross is the Chargers pick at number 17.
With the 18th overall selection in the Bleav Mock Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles are back on the clock to select Andrew Booth Jr., cornerback out of Clemson. They have one cornerback spot that is completely locked down with Darius Slay, who is coming off a Pro Bowl performance in his second year with the Philadelphia Eagles. The other side, though, is cloudy to say the least, with Steven Nelson now entering free agency. Zach McPherson is kind of penciled in to be the next guy. The Philadelphia Eagles massively need to upgrade the spot opposite Darius Slay. I think that Andrew Booth Jr. might have the highest upside of any cornerback in this class. Outstanding body control, ball skills to play the football in the air, maybe the best that I've ever seen in that regard. Physical, 6 foot plus, 32-inch arms. He kind of checks every single box that you would want for in a cornerback. And I think that he, along with Darius Slay, will now combine to create one of the better tandems in the NFL with high upside for an Andrew Booth to be a cornerback 1 down the road.
With the 19th pick in the NFL Bleav Mock Draft, the New Orleans Saints select, drumroll, Kenny Pickett, Pittsburgh quarterback. Look, we've seen the Saints do this multiple times where they've moved into the first round with 2 picks. And the last time that they've done that, they were trying to get a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes. They've done it again. Now, who are they going after? Now, if Malik Willis is off the board, maybe they continue to look at quarterback. I still think that they're going to try to get a quarterback, either with 16 or 19. Kenny Pickett, in my opinion, outside of maybe Matt Corral, you could have the debate there, is the best quarterback on the board. What do the Saints want to do? I think that they want another face of the franchise at the position. You do so many things. You clear $60 million worth of cap to go after Deshaun Watson, and you miss. Then you get 2 picks into this draft, and now you have 2 picks, and you were trying to get another quarterback here. That's what I think the Saints do. They're doing all the things they have to do to get another a franchise type of quarterback. I think if Kenny Pickett's there, I think that they pull the trigger.
With the 20th pick in the Bleav Network's mock draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Georgia's Jordan Davis. We'll see in Canton in like 20 years, because if Jordan Davis falls all the way to number 20 to Pittsburgh, oh man. Now, the Steelers do need some defensive line help, considering they led the league in the 2021 season in sacks, but they were dead last in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. It's no knock on Cameron Hayward, who's an all-pro player, but Tyson Alualu, who missed a lot of the 2021 season, is 34 years old. Stephon Tuitt, who did not play at all last season, is 28. He's the youngest guy there. Fill a need on the interior, and Jordan Davis can be that guy. 6'6", 341. He is a mountain of a man, running a 4.78 in the 40. And I know people were salivating about that during the underwear Olympics. of the 2022 NFL Combine. But you're talking about the Chuck Bednarik Award winner for Best Defensive Player, the Outland Trophy winner for Best Interior Lineman. He was the key cog for the Georgia Bulldogs defense that won the 2021 National Championship. Give me Jordan Davis to the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 20. Thank you to the other Bleav hosts as well for leaving him on the board, because like I said, if he winds up in Pittsburgh, we'll see in Canton here in about 20 years.
With the 21st overall pick in the Bleav Mock Draft, New England Patriots select offensive lineman Zion Johnson out of Boston College. New England is a team that does have a lot of needs on both sides of the ball, but the overriding philosophy, I think, really for this team right now is about protecting the young quarterback, doing what you can to be able to make sure that Mac Jones can flourish within the New England offense. And I think Zion Johnson is a guy who you can slot in at that one of those guard positions. The Patriots have lost an awful lot of talent at guard over the last few years between Joe Thuney, Shaq Mason, and Ted Karras, who gave them some flexibility along that offensive line, playing some interior spots. They need a guy like Zion Johnson, a plug-and-play type who can come in instantly, start from day one, next to a guy like David Andrews. The other thing I think is interesting, with Dante Scarnecchia no longer in the picture, I think the Patriots' days of using third, fourth, fifth, whatever, later round draft picks on offensive linemen could be coming to an end a little bit. I'm not going to say that as a blanket statement, but I think that they're going to be looking for more blue chip talent, more plug and play types instantly along that offensive line. And Zion Johnson is one of those guys.
All right. Hi, it's Mike Wall with the On My Block podcast. And with the 22nd pick in the Bleav 2022 mock draft, the Packers will be selecting Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, wide receiver out of Arkansas. Listen, everybody knows there's really three positions the Packers are looking for: wide receiver, edge rusher, and maybe an interior offensive lineman. A lot of guys that I loved were taken off the board already. Guys like Jermaine Johnson were already off. Even KARLAFTIS was off as far as edge rushers. Zion Johnson's off as far as an interior offensive lineman. Wide receiver is a position that we need. I think this guy can come in. And listen, anytime you can come in and block for this team, and Treylon Burks can block. He's at 6'3", 225. He can take the top off the defense. He's really good at deep routes. In fact, I think even though he has 4.47 speed, he actually plays a little bit faster. Once he gets up to speed, he's one of the three fastest wide receivers in the entire college football league, or NCAA football last year. So excited about it. This can be a great pick for us. He'll develop under Aaron Rodgers.
With the 23rd pick in the NFL draft, mock draft for Bleav, the Arizona Cardinals will select Boye Mafe, from a senior from Minnesota. We need edge rushing with the exit of Chandler Jones, and so he really impressed in the combine. I think he had one of the ninth fastest 40 time in the combine since I want to say 1987. So we need that speed. It's a little bit of a work in progress, but we need that speed coming off the edge, not only to put some pressure on the quarterback, but then also he can do some decent things in the run game as well. So Boye Mafe, senior from Minnesota, to the Arizona Cardinals.
With the 24th pick in the Bleav mock draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Kenyon Green, offensive line, Texas A&M. Because you guys took all my receivers. The offensive line for the Cowboys was not good enough last year. They haven't replaced Connor Williams, their starting left guard, for the last 4 years. So they have a giant hole, and that's going to be their target at 24 is either Zion Johnson or Kenyon Green. I could see him going wide receiver or pass rush if the right player is available, but with the way that this bad boy has set up, I need a new left guard, and the Cowboys might view it as a guy who could also play tackle in a pinch because Kenyon Green played all over the line at Texas A&M. And the Cowboys are going to address their biggest deficiency in the first round and try their best to protect Dak Prescott. Woo woo.
With the 25th pick in this year's 2022 draft, the Buffalo Bills select Breece Hall, running back, Iowa State. Now, the reason why these guys take this, and I know everybody's talking about the Bills do need a corner, but when you look at last season and Dane Jackson, the way he was able to step in and play very solid for Tre'Davious White, I think that definitely warrants some sort of number 2 cornerback, contention there. And, if he can hold it down for the past 2 years, being a steal in the 7th round for the Buffalo Bills, and when you look at the dynamic of Levi Wallace. Levi Wallace was an undrafted free agent who started 3 years on opposite of Tre'Davious White. So I don't think the Bills really need to have to really reach in the first round to go and get a cornerback just because a lot of mocks say so. I do believe that Breece Hall would be that pick, and he had definitely helped those guys in pass pro, something that, the Bills desperately need. Le'Veon Bell comparisons, Breece Hall is your pick.
With the 26th pick in the NFL draft, the Titans select Trevor Penning of Northern Iowa, offensive tackle. I think this pick addresses the biggest need for the Titans, which is the offensive line. They're missing 2 starters from there, and there's no guaranteed replacement on the roster. We know how important the running game is for the Titans with Derrick Henry. I think Penning fills a really good need in terms of being a run blocker. In addition, I think you get a little bit of bonus in Trevor Penning because you start him off at right tackle. You have Taylor Lewan at left. And in another year or two, if Lewan is no longer on the roster, you've got your left tackle right there. You move Trevor Penning over, and you've got an excellent pass protector and run blocker on the left side. So he is my guy. I think he'd be a really good fit, and I think his attitude, aggressiveness, is a good fit with the Titans as well.
With the 27th pick in the Bleav NFL mock draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle from Georgia. The reason being, I think this is a perfect fit for Tampa Bay here with Wyatt at 27, because quite frankly, the Bucs kind of need a youth movement along the defensive line. Yes, they have Vita Vea, but you kind of need somebody younger there to pair with him. Will Golston is 31 on a 1-year contract. Ndamukong Suh is still currently a free agent, but even if he does return to the team, he's 35 years old and will likely be on a 1-year deal anyway. So you're not looking at much of a future there with either of those guys. Wyatt could come in and be that player that they've been looking for to get a little bit more pass rush on the inside, on the interior, and to be able to pair with Vita Vea, not just for this season, but for long term. And that's what makes Wyatt here so valuable for the Bucs.
Hi, everyone. It's Mike Wall of the On My Block podcast for the Green Bay Packers. In the 28th pick of the first round in the Bleav draft, we are going to take another wide receiver, Christian Watson, 6'5", 211 pounds, was a 4.36. He's out of North Dakota State University. And here's the thing. We need wide receivers. Everyone knows we need wide receivers. I love athletes that are coming into the NFL as great athletes first, but maybe underdeveloped or underutilized because they are not surrounded by the same talent as a guy who maybe went to Ohio State or Alabama or Texas A&M. This guy has been playing at North Dakota State. He has incredible amounts of untapped potential. When you put him in a room with a Randall Cobb, you put him in a room with a Sammy Watkins, you put him in a room with Al Lazard, and now that room ultimately is filing in to Aaron Rodgers' room. The amount of upside in a player like this, super excited about. We're getting speed. We got size with Traylon Burks, 6'3", 225. He's also a top-end guy. So excited about what's going on in the draft. Things kind of had to fall in certain places. I would have loved to pick up Zion Johnson. I would have loved to pick up one of the top 5 defensive edge rushers. This is a perfect opportunity for us to expand and keep it developing, not only now while Aaron's hot, but also when he retires into the future.
With the 29th pick in the Bleav mock draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Kaiir Elam, cornerback, Florida. Kaiir is 6'2". He's a big cornerback, which based on our visits that we've had with the recruits and the prospects, he fits that bill of a big kind of athletic cornerback. We don't really have a cornerback. Right now we have L'Jarius Sneed, Tarvarius Ward's gone this year. So this pick makes all the sense based on the build that we like. I will say we don't usually draft cornerbacks high. So this might be a shot in the dark, but as far as an athletic build of a cornerback and with the value of this 29th pick, I think that's the pick we got to go with in Kaiir Elam.
With the 30th pick in the Bleav mock NFL draft, the Chiefs select Lewis Cine from Georgia. He's a perfect pick for them, fills a big need, big hitter, big tackler, plays best in the biggest games. He's 6'2" and a 4th and 200 pounds. He runs a 4.37 40-yard dash, and he hits like a strong safety. This is a big need for the Chiefs. Yes, they signed Justin Reed, but they still are without Tyrann Mathieu. Juan Thornhill had some moments last year, but he actually had trouble making the team. So they really need 2 safeties, and Cine is a versatile guy who will bolster that pass defense, something that is a major need. And
Brett Veach emphasized this in his last press conference before the draft.
With the 31st pick, the Cincinnati Bengals pick Tyler Linenbaum, glass eater, center from Iowa. I think this is an unbelievable pick if we get this pick right here at number 31. He's a straightforward guy. He plays really tough. With the offseason moves that we've had this year, I think this will be a great fit, with a lot of older guys around him. And we can get him into that Bengals mode, playing downhill, and we need another bodyguard. So it's never enough too many bodyguards in Cincinnati. Solomon said it first. We couldn't get my other guy. We're going Tyler. Tyler, come on.
Hello, hello, hello. It is I, at Javanaugh87, Jack Kavanaugh, with the 32nd pick of the NFL draft, the final pick of the first round. And with that, the Detroit Lions select the best backer in the class, Devin Lloyd, linebacker, Utah. And Lloyd has the prototypical size that you look for at 6'2", 237 pounds. He is also the prototypical athlete with a 95th percentile broad jump and a 95th percentile relative athletic score from our friend Kent Lee Platt. And it's not just off the field. On the field, he has the all-around playmaking ability to become a great Mike linebacker at the NFL. You need him to cover. He had 4 interceptions last year. You need him to blitz. He had 15.5 sacks over the past 3 seasons. Need him to shut down the run? 256 tackles during his career. If Utah's 2-time defensive captain is still on the board at 32, I promise Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell will be sprinting to get that pick in.